This is Yep and That Too, hosted by Kerrie Roberts and Aaron Rice, a podcast for creatives discussing the craft and artistry of redefining success as we learn to maneuver through life with joy, contentment, and confidence. Hey guys, welcome to Yep and That Too. We're so excited to be here for another episode where we can share with you not only our voices, but our faces as well and our friends. So welcome to the episode. We're very excited. Today we have the Bearded Baker with us. So he has a great story and great cookies. So we're excited to share those.
We are excited. I am going to get the awkward out of the way. The awkward of me holding a mic. When we decided to do video and audio record, I think if you remember episode 1, I told our show producer, Sarah Rice, my wife, and my co-host, hey, yeah, I can show up and record, but you guys got to take this and run with it. Well, guess who was responsible for all the audio today? The guy that said he couldn't do any of that stuff.
No, it's my fault.
But I forgot everything. So last minute, I was calling friends. Hey, do you have mics? Can I borrow? Whatever. And my friend Cooper brought me a mic, but his shock mount is not working. So it's missing pieces. So I'm holding a mic.
It looks cute.
It looks fantastic, doesn't it?
It looks real cute.
But let's get to the fun stuff. Nate, you know what's funny is I hear your last name mispronounced all the time.
Really?
People take the M out, or they
it just flows. Yeah.
They do Clingman.
That's true.
Like they ended on the.
You know, that brings me trauma from high school. I used to get called a Klingon. You know, like from Star Trek. Yeah, such trauma.
Now I'm gonna mess it up, but Nate Clingman. I'm gonna mess it up now.
Set you up.
Publicly known as the Bearded Baker, not a Klingon. We've known each other for a couple years. Actually, I've known his wife.
I don't know why that made me.
I've known his wife for longer than I've known you, before you guys were married. Mm-hmm. His wife and I were neighbors. But Nate is publicly known as the Bearded Baker. He is a rock star in my little town of Nolensville, south of Nashville. I mean, seriously, people rave about what you do, your food. But what's funny is, and I'm going to let you tell this story, but
sure.
The cake that went viral, the beginning one, I saw it and I was like, okay, this is hilarious. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And Sarah's like, you know who that is, right? And I was like, no. She's like, that's Jillian's husband. And I was like, what? And so he had a cake that went viral, and then he has become this baking sensation. Super creative, not just tasty, but the recipes are creative. Your designs are creative. So let's talk about how you got started and how you became the Bearded Baker.
Yes,
sure.
I want to understand how a cake goes viral.
Very, very. It was kind of an accident, actually. So, as I guess it should be if it's viral. So, well, thank you for that introduction. So, so I am the Bearded Baker, completely by accident. I've been the Bearded Baker for probably about 3 or 4 years. I mean, my entire life, I suppose. But the last 3 or 4 years, I adopted that.
Wait, did you have a beard your whole life?
You know, you would think, right? I mean, it's so thick, you know? No, the funny thing is everybody always reminds me when they're like, 2 things. One is when they see that I'm the Bearded Baker, they're like, you actually have a beard. And I'm like, yep, it's true, I do. And then the second thing they say is, you can never shave it, can you? No, I can't.
Guilty, I said that to you.
Yeah.
Guilty.
The thing is, though, my wife has literally never seen me with a beard. So I'm afraid if I did shave it...
Without a beard.
Without a beard.
Is that what I said? Yeah. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So she's never seen me without a beard. Your
kids would freak.
Oh, my kids would absolutely freak out. But Jill, I don't know. She might have some trauma. So anyway... Yeah. So I've been baking for a very long time. It's just something that I've kind of started by accident, honestly, as a side hobby. I've always been a creative person. I get it from my mom. She was big into arts, big into pottery and art and that sort of thing. And just kind of passed that creative trait down to me. I come from a very quiet family. My family is reserved and chill and just very quiet. It doesn't cause a lot of commotion, and I don't really fit in very well in that world. So that's just how I am. But anyway, so I started baking just 100% by accident. I made something for a work function and everybody loved it. And so it snowballed from there. And that was probably like 20 years ago. So, but more recently I moved to Nashville and just started doing baking on the side. And I made this cake for a client. She messaged me and said, hey, my husband's getting a vasectomy. And I'd like to get him a treat to help to make him feel better, something that's funny and just something that's like, you know, when he's laying on the couch, like icing himself, you know, he can have a piece of cake. And so I'm like, all right, it sounds fun. Let's do it. So we did a cake, and it was just a simple little cake. It wasn't even anything like, if I would have known that it would have been viral, I would have spent more time on it. But literally it had 2 lemons on top, and it said 100% juice, no seeds. Happy vasectomy. And so she picks up this cake and she takes it home, and it's a saying, whatever. And it's like, oh, that's funny. And then we go about our lives. And then all of a sudden I get a call from like Seth Meyers' producers, like, hey, we found this picture. Can we post it? Can we talk about it on the show? And I'm like, okay. And then like USA Today and like literally everybody, it went viral. Like the people in the Guardian and the UK are like reaching out. There was people like in the Middle East that were reaching out looking for rights. Wow. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like this, like it's crazy. So yeah, so it went viral. So I kind of got a little well known from that. And so just from a simple little silly cake. So yeah, but because of that, Food Network had reached out to see if I had any interest in doing a competition show. And I do this on the side. I have a full-time job, plus I'm a dad, so I have 2 full-time jobs, plus I'm a husband, so I guess that's 3. So at first I said, absolutely not, no thanks, no time for that. And I told my wife, Jillian, and she said, you're an idiot. Why would you not do that? Like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, okay, fine. So I did it. So I called him back. I was like, yeah, I'll totally do it. Went through the process, went through the interviews, all that. And was so nervous, so nerve-wracking to do all of this. But ended up flying up to upstate New York and filming this show with Martha Stewart and Jesse Palmer. I don't know if you know Jesse Palmer?
Yes.
He was the host. He used to be, he was a Bachelor, I guess. I don't watch The Bachelor, but you know, I didn't know. so anyway, filmed the show and turns out I won. So wow. Yeah. So my wife takes full credit for that, as she should. So yeah, it just kind of snowballed from there. You know, this took this little tiny business that started by accident, and it kind of snowballed and built up into this big thing. You know, I go to the grocery store and people are like, "Are you the bearded baker? Can we take a picture?" I'm like, no, that's weird, but okay. You know, people would come to our house to pick up a cake. Like there's this one lady that came to our house to pick up this cake, and it was for her daughter. She was in the car. She's like 5 years old, and she said, "I want you to know." She put on like makeup and a dress and everything because she was so excited to meet the bearded baker. And I'm like, oh, that's so adorable, but that's also really weird. Yeah. Like that's just kind of strange, you know. So anyway, so yeah. But, you know, I've become pretty well known in Nolensville, which is amazing. Like, the business wouldn't be what it is without the people of Nolensville. It's been incredible, the amount of support and just insane just support that we get from that area. So now I'm just kind of rambling, so feel free to jump in. And
so what was the name of the show?
It was Martha Stewart's Bakeaway Camp.
Bakeaway Camp. Yep.
It was the only season they did, and they won't do it again. It didn't, I guess, it aired during COVID, which was not really the best time for anything to air. So yeah, we did one season. And
may have broken protocol for the finale.
We did. So for the finale, we did a huge party in our yard. Everybody was spaced apart, watched it, and it was very fun.
And I walked down from my house, and it was a lot of their friends that don't know me, and they're like, who's the dude standing? You know
all of our neighbors were on their front porch watching because we had it on this huge screen. Yeah,
and I was like, hey, no, I'm supposed to be here. I'm not a rando. Sarah wasn't feeling well, so she didn't come down, and it was like me by myself. So, but then both of you, big reality TV stars.
I was like, I want to know, like, your favorite part about being a part of a reality show.
Well, and for context.
So I was on Pop Stars on the WB. This was, a million years ago. Like, before, honestly, it was such a gift because I was on one, like, before TV knew what reality TV should be. So I had a lot more freedom and probably didn't have to deal with a lot.
Sure.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite part was winning. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, that's all,
that's great.
Let's be honest here. Man, I think my favorite part, though, was honestly, like, I felt so inadequate before doing this show. Like, I felt so inadequate. Like, I'm flying up, I'm going to do the show, I'm going to look like a fool on TV. I have to make sure I don't lick my fingers or, like, taste things. Like, anything that's unsanitary is where my mind went automatically. I don't want to look like a fool, all that stuff. But ultimately, like, I just felt so inadequate, Like, it was only 5 other bakers, and that's just how I felt, And so... I didn't have any intentions on winning, period. I'm like, I just don't want to be the first one kicked off. Because when you watch a reality show, the first person you get kicked off, you're like, oh, that's so sad for you, So that was my goal. And then I made it through the first round. Second round, a little challenging. Thought I was going to go home. Somebody else did. And then from there, it was just like, okay, I can do this. I can do it, And so when I went into the finale with the other 2 competitors, they're great competitors. But for myself, by that point, I just had this confidence boost of like, man, I am good enough to do this. Like, I don't need to worry about this. Like, I am good enough to be on this show and I can win. And if I don't, it's fine, And so that was probably my favorite part about it, honestly, is kind of discovering that part of myself. I mean, I'm a very confident person as it is, but for whatever reason in that avenue, I just felt so like nervous and kind of scared of like, I am not worthy of this in any way, shape, or form. But
the thing is we as creatives, we can be confident people.
Yeah.
I have no lack of self-confidence and get reminded often.
I do too.
But when it comes to creativity, I remember going into co-writes going, why am I in this room? I do not deserve to be in this room. Then I became a lawyer. And the first time I did a record deal, I was like, oh, am I going to screw this up? Yeah. Right? Or they going to take advantage of me? I know what it's supposed to do. And I remember having that imposter syndrome. It's a real thing for creatives.
Yeah.
Because we get to color outside of the lines and make our own rules. But what you did is you found in just going and doing it, hey, I am good enough, right? Other people think I'm good enough, not just me and Jillian, not just, the however many clients you had. So to writers, to filmmakers, to artists, sometimes you just got to do it and find out that you're good enough, right? So, and that's why we do this podcast. This podcast is, hey, find whatever it is that is just enough success to keep you going.
Yeah.
You may not have the $300 to fill your whole tank up right now. Find the $3, to get to the next stop.
Yeah.
So it's that same thing with this.
Yeah.
And then you did the show. I knew you were winning. I may
have spilled the beans a couple times.
Well, but not even that. I've been around so many people on reality TV shows that when they come home,
you can tell.
I know. Like, I know. I mean, I've had obviously The Voice, Idol, whatever, but I've had friends on The Amazing Race. I've had friends on, and when they come home, I'm like, you almost won. Or, ooh, you're going home early. You were like, I can't tell. And I'm like, you may not be able to verbally, but I know. So it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
How long ago was the show?
2 years ago.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was like right at the beginning of COVID is when we filmed.
Right. Oh, yeah, you said that.
We filmed it right before COVID, and then COVID hit, and it's like, oh no, so.
Gotcha.
And I've been on him forever. Like, okay, we can lose the day job. This is who you are. You're not there yet. You should be.
We're getting there.
You should be. You're not there yet, but you've gone back. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
You've gone back to the Food Network.
Yeah, so, so the thing is I wasn't the bearded baker before I did this show. So I was just doing this as a side business. Like, I have a full-time job, like I said, and it was just a thing, like, it's a creative outlet. It was something that made a little bit extra cash for our family. But that confidence from the show, it was kind of like, okay, I need to do this for real now. If anybody would have asked me before I went on the show, would you ever consider doing this full time? My immediate answer was absolutely not. I do not want to own a bakery. I don't want to do any of that. I want to, do something different. different. And after doing that show, that confidence boost that, there was kind of like, okay, this needs to be legit, like for real, and we need to move forward with this. So that's how the Bearded Baker was birthed. From that, it was kind of like, well, let's move forward with this, and it just kind of blew up. And now it's at the point. So I did do another Food Network show. I've been asked to do a few others, and they just didn't really work out as far as like the right format and that sort of thing. And a lot of people have said, would you ever do another competition show again? And I think I definitely would, under the right circumstances, the right terms, and that sort of thing. But so yeah, there's been other opportunities. But I did one. I was more of a mentor, a coach for a pilot episode, and it was a charcuterie challenge, which to me, I'm like, that sounds super fun. I mean, it's charcuterie. To me, it's kind of like it's an art form.
Right.
It's something that you can get. Yeah, it's like you can get really creative with that. So I did that, but I didn't compete. I was more of a mentor, kind of a coach person from a baking expert,
which I love. Is like they immediately were like, I can already tell you're good on camera, you're well spoken, you know what you're doing, and you're creative.
Yeah,
like you're the perfect person to come in as the coach mentor kind of person. Also, you're a bit of your talent and your work, you're a bit of a product of one of their shows.
Sure.
So
so I mean, there was that, and there's a lot of other opportunities potentially in the future, who knows. But where we're going now is opening an actual storefront. So I'll be quitting my job full time within the next year, hopefully, and moving into a storefront, brick and mortar, and doing this full time for real. So it's awesome how it's kind of come to that.
I cannot wait for that. My gut can wait for that.
Don't worry, we'll have a friends and family discount. So,
I threaten all the time, like, I'm just going to break in your house. Like,
you don't have to break it, just knock on the door.
It's funny, like, well, I'll be driving home and there's, a car or two cars or whatever in front of his driveway. And I'm always like, somebody's picking up a cake.
Yeah. It's cool.
So this is something that I can do it with music, right?
Yeah.
How did you get to, and was it study? Was it just instinct? But how did you get to, you don't make like cookies. No, you make cookies.
Yeah.
But it's got like 5 words in the name, and you're putting crazy stuff together. Like I don't follow recipes at home a lot, and I'm like, I can cook.
Yeah.
But it's a different thing. You know what I mean? Like,
cooking is totally different than baking.
It is,
baking is way more scientific.
It is.
It's rude.
But here's the thing, though. I agree with that. You are 100% right. Baking is science. Like, it literally is. There's a science to it. I hate saying this because I don't fully believe it, but I do somewhat. You can't just throw everything into a pot and expect it to turn into a beautiful cake, like you can with making a meal. Like, you can go into the kitchen and take anything from a fridge and make an awesome meal, Baking is a little bit more challenging with that, as people would say. To me, I think that I challenge the fact that I think you can a little bit. And I think because of that, like, I'm not a rule follower at all. I had a hard time in life because I'm not a rule follower. And so I don't like following the rules. And I think that's why I can be a little bit more creative with baking, because I try to do things that don't really make sense, or they shouldn't work, but they do, I just love that, to me, I can, I can make a great cake for you and it'll taste good and whatever. But if you give me full creative control to just think outside the box and do something that's a little bit more personality and a little bit more edgy, then that's where I thrive, is that creative ability to just do whatever makes sense to me,
Is that creative in the way that it looks? I know, because I've seen your creations, incredible, but also in the way like something tastes.
Absolutely.
Or just like,
absolutely.
Like stretch people's palates.
Absolutely. So I like using flavors that people wouldn't normally think should work. Cool. A few months ago, I wanted to do something just different for Father's Day as a special. So I thought, man, let's do something that's unique, that's catchy. So I did a brown butter bourbon chocolate chip cookie. Sounds great, right? But I thought, how can I take this to the next level? So what's a little bit more unique than Spam? Let's play with Spam and add it to a cookie. So absolutely. Have you had Spam?
Yeah.
So we grew up on Spam. We grew up on...
From Hawaii?
I know what it is. I know what it is.
I grew up in Kansas, middle of nowhere. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, so we ate things that, didn't cost a lot, and so we would have Spam. And so so I just grew an affinity for it. So I'm like, this is different. It's unique. People will think it's weird.
And people put bacon on sweets all the time.
And
okay,
Spam, it's bacon.
Yeah.
It's pork.
Right.
So I made candied Spam and put it in these cookies. Trust me, you would love
Candied Spam. Okay.
Yeah, it's candied Spam. So it's chopped up little pieces.
Well, look, here's the deal. I've never tasted a bearded baker thing that I didn't love. Even stuff that, like, I don't love carrot cake. But one of our local restaurants carries his carrot cake all the time, and my wife actually loves carrot cake. So I'm like, man, this is good. And I don't even like carrot cake. So
yeah, I'm
sure I would love it.
So, well, you would, because honestly, when you eat it, it's just like, it's bacon. It tastes like a chocolate chip bacon cookie. That's what it tastes like. But it's the idea, People are like, that's weird. Like, I saw your face.
Yeah, I was like,
you're like, no, not Spam. Thank you. So yeah, that's how people. That's what you would think. But then you have that side of you that's like, kind of want to try that. It sounds good. So it sounds intriguing. So,
cool.
So yeah, that's what I would prefer to do is try those flavors that are just different. You wouldn't really pair them together.
Yeah. And you're so good at it tastes good and it looks good, but on top of that, like the lemon, like the phrase, the sayings, like your creativity is top to bottom for the whole thing. I
appreciate that. Thank you.
It's not just looks good because I can make something taste good. It's never going to look good.
Yeah.
Like I can't like icing, whatever. I know people who've made things look great, and then you take a bite and you're like, oh man, I wish.
Like every wedding.
But then
it's true. It's so true.
But then, like on top of it, you're genuinely funny and genuinely creative.
Sure.
And so, it's fun.
Yeah.
As you, I'm sure, are so excited about this next step. As you think about success for this, what are your hopes? How are you thinking of defining success for the Bearded Baker?
That's a good question. And honestly, I could say easily like, well, there's like the revenue part of it and there's like the notoriety and that sort of thing. But honestly, what it all boils down to is, what do my kids see? Like, to me, my kids they're the reason why I keep doing all of this every single day. My kids are so stinking proud of the fact that their dad is the Bearded Baker. My little boy, he's just turned 5. Literally every time he meets people, my dad's the Bearded Baker. People are like, okay. And it's a thing, And so like they are so excited to try everything I make. They may not like it, but they try it. And that's who I do this for. So to me, building a brick and mortar store is something that is building a legacy for my children, that as long as they want to be involved, they're going to be involved. For my family, when growing up, like my mom and dad did a great job of instilling values and those sort of things. And one of the things they taught us is, listen, if you want to do this, we'll support you wherever you go. And then when you don't, that's okay. And that's what I want to do with my kids, with my son, with my daughter is, as long as you want to be involved, I'll teach you everything you need to know, And so for me, success is, what do they see, Obviously all the other stuff is great, but for me, it's what do my family see? What kind of a legacy is built for them?
Yeah.
So.
Are we calling it the Bearded Bakery?
That.
I'm not sure.
Because I really want a storefront with like a beard, like Moss.
Yeah.
They called it the Bearded Bakery.
The sad part is I actually might have to change the name. Somebody already trademarked the Bearded Baker. So if you have any ideas,
if you only know somebody that can help with that,
I'm listening. So let's we'll talk about that. So yeah, because I am.
Wait, I feel like I told you that. Whatever, we'll get to that.
That's later. So I would love to hear because everyone, I don't know if even everyone knows this. So I eat plant-based. I would love to know. I know you bake that way. A creative combination that you've done, or like a vegan recipe that's been creative, like super creative, that you're really proud of.
Ooh.
Like the Spam cookie version for the vegan world.
Like not these cookies. We'll get to that.
These are beautiful.
So one of the more challenging vegan ones that I did was my carrot cake. I'm very well known for carrot cake in Nolensville. Like pretty well known because it is
fantastic. We keep saying in Nolensville as if his fame stops at the talent. Not true. Franklin, Brentwood, Nashville, Seth Meyers, USA Today.
Right.
Like, we keep saying
they never tried that carrot cake, though. I mean, if they did,
they will now.
So
Seth from watching,
I'm at a school event for my daughter, and they're like, "Oh, we've got dessert," and I walk over and I see the sticker, and I'm like, "Oh, it's his banana pudding." You know, I was like, "Dude, I'm so happy to see this," or whatever. So it's not just Nolensville. You are well known for your carrot cake.
I appreciate that.
And your fame knows no bounds.
Well, so that somebody wanted a vegan version of my carrot cake, and that is, it seems impossible to do, because the key to this carrot cake, literally, when it comes out of the oven, you soak it, like you pour a ton of a buttermilk caramel sauce that's hot all over it. And buttermilk's obviously not vegan,
right.
It's fattening and it's delicious when you make it that way. So that was a challenge to do it that way, to recreate this thing that doesn't have the eggs, doesn't have the buttermilk, doesn't have that stuff in it, and so that was a challenge, but it still turned out awesome. It's delicious,
Did you just like lemon juice to soy milk, or what did you do?
Yeah, essentially just I think I used almond milk, but essentially I think I did vinegar as well, to curdle it and that sort of thing, but and then the name escapes me now. The juice from chickpeas instead of eggs. Aquafaba. That's it. Yeah, instead of, and it turned out great. So.
That's great. So I mean, we won't just talk about food, I promise, forever. But is also challenging for me. It's not just like that I'm vegan. I eat plant-based. It's like a preventative measure for health reasons. So I also do pretty much oil-free.
Oh, okay.
So I use Aquafaba a lot for like oil substitute, because at least it's like viscous and it's not exactly fatty, but that's like an extra challenge if you ever want to like try to do something like that. Think of me and let me know.
Oh, I totally will. I wouldn't
plant-based, oil-free.
My carrot cake also has a lot of oil, so it's a little more of a challenge, but I've started to get I get a lot of requests for, in some ways it's becoming very trendy to be gluten-free, to be vegan, all that, and in a lot of reasons it is because of health, like in your case, and then others it's not, and so we're starting to get a lot more requests for those things, and it's always a challenge because we don't set things up separately. We try to not cross-contaminate and all that, but it is very I like a challenge. I enjoy a challenge where someone's like, hey, can you do it this way? No, I probably can't, but let me see, let me try it and see. So
awesome.
So you said earlier that your kids love to try everything. You know who else does? This guy. So let's talk about this.
Yes. So I wanted to do something that was just a little bit different for you guys. So this is actually a fudgy smoked paprika chocolate chunk cookie. I'm a huge fan of smoked paprika.
Me too.
Like huge fan.
This is the foodie section.
So one of the things my kids love that I make is deviled eggs. They call them creamy eggs. They're like, Daddy, can you make creamy eggs? And I'm like, okay. So I grew up on that. My mom always made them. It was the best, but she always put paprika on it. And I'm like, well, let me get fancy and do some smoked stuff here. And then I'm a huge fan of savory and sweet.
Yeah, you'll continue.
So I'm a big fan of, I would prefer actually savory, which is funny because I'm the baker, but I would prefer savory over sweet. And I bought the ingredients. I had them all set out. I had vegan butter, plant-based butter. So I had literally everything. And then you get in this mode when you're making these things that you make all the time. And I'm like, okay, here's my butter, here's my sugar. Oh no, I can't do it. And so these are not vegan. I apologize.
It's all good. It smells delicious. It looks so good.
He really did mean to make them vegan for you.
I really did. I even bought plant-based chocolate chips.
Oh, did you get Enjoy Life or nothing?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah. I bought literally had it all set out. I had it all set out for you.
This is so good.
you just enjoy yourself.
I took a bite just to kind of rub it in your face, and then I was like, oh my,
can't stop.
That's so good.
This whole box is yours. Yep, so you can take them all.
Enjoy.
So when I bake cookies, when the recipe calls for vanilla, I use bourbon. I use bourbon and whiskey and literally almost everything I make.
See, so Aaron knows because I taught him how to make his own vanilla extract, that it's actually just vanilla beans in vodka, so that makes like
it's so funny. I was literally talking to my mom on the phone earlier today when I was making these. She's like, "Man, you put alcohol in everything."
Yeah,
and I was
so do you.
If you think about it, vanilla is like it's alcohol. It is. So it's no different.
I love it. That's a great idea.
I'm sorry, incredible. I'm gonna stop because my wife's here and she will count how many I eat.
Just opening the box and the smell.
I know, it's so good.
Oh my gosh.
What else do you do with smoked paprika?
This is actually the first time.
I didn't know. I love smoked paprika.
I know, but this just became a Food Network
because
podcast.
I love smoked salt too.
I love
so good.
So whenever I do chocolate chip cookies, you can see I have sea salt on the top.
Yes.
I always finish with sea salt, like sea salt flakes. But I love to do a smoked sea salt because it's just it's that extra dimension. This is actually the first baked item I've used smoked paprika.
Okay.
I use a lot in cooking, but this is the first time I've done it.
Do it again.
Yes, sir.
I love that. I've never heard of that because I think, okay, maybe like chocolate and cayenne, like you see that, but never paprika. So that's really cool.
If you think about it, you think about spiced chocolate, like Mexican hot chocolate. You know, it's like a lot of spices. So if you think about it, like it makes sense. It works. Like
or like a mole or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So it works. It's just you wouldn't normally like. Let me throw some smoked paprika in this cookie, you know? But when I bake, I love getting the taste. Like, it's good to have the taste, but I like to invoke all of your senses as much as possible. So for me, I do this. So on the show, actually, I did this as well, but I did a s'mores parfait that I'm like, okay, when you eat a s'more, when are you usually doing it? You're in the wilderness, like around a fire. So I wanted to invoke all of your senses. So obviously you get the smoke from the fire, so from the toasted marshmallows. Right. But I'm like, I want you to smell the pine trees. So I use juniper berries crushed up so that you get that smell. That one of the judges thought it tasted like medicine. I fully disagreed, but that's behind us. Is it though? It's fully behind me.
Juniper and everything. It's the Juniper Bakery now.
But again, it's one of those things that you wouldn't normally think of, and you can't just find that at a grocery store. It's like you got to go out of your way to find that. You know.
I love that.
But again, it's just
foraging.
You know, it's there. You go. Yeah. At Whole Foods. So anyway, so it's just using a lot of things that kind of invoke the senses, but at the same time, it's different. It's unique. That goes against the rules in some ways, but it works.
Cookbook? Is that happening?
I get told literally every time I talk to my mom and my family. Literally every time. And by that time, I'm just kind of like, okay. I've started to write one. Just need to find someone to put it together for me.
Love it.
Yeah.
Again, if only you knew someone to help.
I know.
Yeah, put just in the column little if you want to make it vegan, do this.
I'm thinking there might be maybe there's a collab in the future.
Oh, let's do it. I would love that.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board.
Okay, great.
I'll just try everything.
Yeah, he needs to be more brave because he was even making fun of. I was like, I'll bring snacks, and he's like, her snacks are gonna be weird.
I didn't say they were gonna be weird. I just said they were gonna taste good.
Her snacks are gonna be gross.
Okay, what kind of snacks are we talking about here, though?
I brought bananas and a Larabar.
Yeah,
come on.
How dare you?
I know.
Those are
so weird.
That was before
peanut butter and chocolate.
Before I knew what she was gonna show up.
I mean, he's used to those little candy bananas,
Yes, that's true.
Real banana. I mean,
he's used to me coming on though and talking about very weird things I'm doing in my kitchen. So
that is true.
I give you credit. Yes.
So. Where can people find you?
So my website, thebeardedbakernashville.com. Yes. Facebook and Instagram, The Bearded Baker Nashville. I post all of my work there. I've started to get into designs now that emulate real life,
Explain
real
that.
life objects. So
one
of my popular things that a lot of people have been ordering is cakes that look like purses. My wife's a huge fan of Louis Vuitton.
Nice. Okay.
And so I made a cake one time that literally looked like a Louis Vuitton purse sitting on the table. So making things that look like real life is just it's fun.
That's very cool.
It's like that show on Netflix, Is a Cake,
Right, yeah. You're like make a tomato, but it's like chocolate inside.
It's so fun to watch when someone finds their thing and the world is like, yes.
Yeah.
Go, let us be the wind in your sails. And I mean, it's funny. And I mean, I laugh about it all the time. I mean, we're friends, we're neighbors. We're not like best friends.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm like people legit think you are Martha Stewart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love it. I love watching it. I mean, we have another mutual friend who owns a restaurant in our town, and the three of us were talking in that restaurant one day, and just the people and I think you got stopped. Like, are you the bearded baker? Like right then. I was like, dude, this is
That is
crazy.
literally
I love it.
And I'm like, and this guy owns this restaurant that you're in. If you want to meet him,
Just so
which is awesome. I mean, it's a great restaurant.
yeah, it is.
So, yeah.
The
Awesome.
rock star status.
I love it.
So we do something every episode that we just kind of talk about things that inspire us. We try to find different people have different inspirations. From whatever.
Yeah.
And so every week we talk about, hey, this has inspired me this week.
Yeah.
I'm going to recycle a little bit. Not
Okay.
really, but it wasn't. It was inspiring. And I think one inspiration moment was my daughter overcoming an injury. But this week she started a new creative process with a choreographer. And it was a choreographer that she just has wanted to work with for a while. And he's taught her, but he's never done something, and they started working on a solo. But his creative process is very similar to that of a songwriter. A lot of choreographers, they know the song, they choreograph, they come in and teach it to the kid. He is, no, we're going to build it from the ground up. We're going to make it you. We're going to, I'm going to let you try things. If it works, it doesn't work, or whatever. I was super inspired by watching a dancer, a teacher, a choreographer who, literally danced at the Super Bowl last year or 2 years ago, working with an 11-year-old going, hey, try this. What feels like you? Understanding that, hey, this isn't about me and my choreography. This isn't about, as a songwriter, it was never about me and the coolest lyric. It was about, hey, you as the artist, how is this you?
Yeah.
But being kind of the fly on the wall, watching the collab process was super inspiring for me.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really about my daughter as just the process.
Right.
I mean, had it been any choreographer and dancer.
But she's amazing, so it makes it extra.
Yeah, I mean, she's got my DNA.
Yeah.
So.
Humility as well, right?
Humility.
Yeah,
The most humble ever.
absolutely.
We're
Wrote the book
working
for
on
sure.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see. I brought a book. So this is called Letters of a Nation. Who's this by? I don't know. Well, it's edited, by Andrew Carroll. He can't really say he wrote it because it's literally just letters. So this is Letters of a Nation, talking about starting at exploration, the first people landing on Plymouth Rock, and it goes through modern times. And it's always a little bit of a left turn when I share my inspiration moment, but I feel like this connects to what you were saying when you're talking about leaving a legacy. So I was so inspired and challenged by this foreword, because it's we have all these moments of history to inspire us because people took the time to write a letter and leave a legacy, like you were saying. So I'm just going to, this is what the paragraph that challenged me. It's just in the foreword. It says, "Too often we perceive the forces of history as a mighty wave we are powerless to change. But from the first Minutemen who confronted the British at Lexington to freedom fighters like Frederick Douglass and Mother Jones, who spoke out against inequality everywhere, the letters in this collection show us the brave souls who not only held fast against the currents of injustice, but even helped turn the tide. Every one of us has experiences to share and wisdom to impart. Let us all then leave behind letters of love and friendship, family and devotion, hope and consolation, so that the future generations will know what we have valued and believed and achieved." And so I feel challenged, especially in this time of just really quick, not even phone calls, text messages, and lack of real connection to write letters, leave behind a legacy that's written that people can hold in their hands and remember. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. You're gonna get a letter. You excited?
Like real mail.
You're gonna get a letter.
Right.
Excited.
Like real mail.
A real mail. Yeah, it's I think it's important.
I laugh because I've got an 11-year-old who's got friends moving away, or she whatever, and I'm like, moving now. That's not a big deal.
FaceTime.
Like seriously, why? Dry it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have no idea.
Yeah.
We had to actually use a number 2 pencil and a piece of paper.
Right. Yeah.
Buy a stamp.
Right. It's true.
Now you can talk on the phone anytime you want.
Yeah.
Walk around the neighborhood. You don't have to sit at the at the desk, whatever. Yeah.
All of that.
That's true. So this week has been the last 3 weeks have been very challenging for our family, actually. So we had a pipe break in our house. We've all kinds of people in our house, tearing it apart. We've had to be in a hotel. And my inspiration actually is my wife the last couple of weeks, honestly. But I was thinking about it today, just trying to think about yesterday, like, okay, I need to have an inspiration to think about, like, what inspires me this week. And I was thinking about it more today. And every time I just go back to my wife, so my wife is someone that she's always wanted to be a mom. She's always wanted to be a mom. Always wanted to have kids and just be the mom that takes them to soccer and plays on the playground and does all the things, and she is very good at doing all the things. And to me, I'm like, oh, Lord bless you. I'm so exhausted just listening to your agenda that you're going to do today, but being in a hotel with these two little kids all the time and still taking them to their activities and doing all these things, it's you have the ability to just be very impatient and lose your temper. And one of my challenges that I've been kind of going through this year is being more present with my kids, because I have a full-time job and then baking, my kids. One of the things that challenges me is when my daughter comes up to me and she just always wants to be held. Daddy, you hold me? I'm like, okay, well, let me finish this cake first. And then the more I think about it, I'm like, oh, that's going to be like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be that guy, So anyway, just watching my wife, like, you have the ability to break down this week because of all the mess that's happening, and she's held it together and just continue to make sure that my kids know that they're a priority and that their activities are priority and that they have fun and that this is not a downer, but we're staying in an exciting hotel and it's going on week 3 and we can literally crack. But yeah, my wife has been my inspiration this week. And it's also been challenging for me because I don't have a kitchen to bake in, but yet I got to fulfill orders and things like that. And so I have to figure out how to work around, construction and all that. But just watching my wife having to do all this.
You can bake in my kitchen anytime. Just make 2 of whatever you're making.
Is it adequate enough? I mean,
probably not.
It's always a challenge to bake in someone else's kitchen. Nothing ever turns out right.
That's great.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you again, Aaron, for just having awesome friends and people that I can just, connect with and learn from. And I really appreciate you taking the time to share your journey and your food and your talent. And
awesome. And we love when we get our music people on here, but we love, because it's not a music podcast. And we love and to Sarah's credit, she's from day one. I said, Nate's going to be awesome. Nate. I'm like, yeah, I know. But then when it was like, hey, we're going to film, I was like, ooh, Nate. Yeah. Because then also he can bring something.
Right. Yes.
I mean, that may have been self-serving, but
it's all right. Okay. And it's the beard too, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
100%.
So thanks. Seriously, thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
And success, leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Really good. Mm-hmm. Really good.
Right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to Yep and That Too, a podcast for creatives. Yep and That Too is hosted by Kerrie Roberts and Aaron Rice, co-produced by Sarah Rice and Maven Media Productions. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Yep and That Too Podcast with new episodes every other Wednesday. Like, comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. The information on this podcast is for general information purposes only. Nothing in this podcast should be taken as legal advice for any individual case or situation. This information is not intended to create, and receipt of or listening to does not constitute an attorney-client relationship.